encuentras la esperanza. En familia tú encuentras el amor. En familia tú encuentras...
Hola, soy Lorena Conelli. Bienvenidos a un nuevo segmento de En Familia. Ahora tenemos como invitado a Sergio Rabinovitz. Nació en Salvador, Bahía, Brasil. Es el mayor de 3 hermanos. Viene de una familia de artistas. Sus padres son reconocidos músicos en Brasil. Empezó su carrera de la mano de los grandes, como Calazán Nato y Mario Cravo Jr., uno de los artistas más influyentes en Brasil. Llegó becado al estado de Connecticut y posteriormente a Nueva York, donde se graduó con una licenciatura en Ciencias del Arte. Sergio, gracias por estar aquí con nosotros en el programa de En Familia.
Great pleasure to be here, Lorena. First, my greetings to all our viewers everywhere where your program reaches in the United States. It's wonderful to be together.
La vida como arte y el arte como vida, que
Yes.
también es el título de tu libro.
Yes. My life is guided by this phrase, and my wife and I, we've been focusing on it throughout our long road in the arts as an everyday reminder, that what we're doing, it's our life, and our life is what we're doing, and what I try to translate in my work is my life, and vice versa. So that makes things more exciting and easy, a reminder of why we're here.
Vamos a hablar del artista y todo lo que tú has hecho en tu trayectoria de trabajo. Pero antes de hablar de tu carrera, de lo que has hecho, me gustaría que hablemos de Sergio. ¿Quién es Sergio?
I'm a person that enjoys life a lot, and that's why I became an artist. I wanted to be able to make my work a translation of life, not just a job. To work with something that I could leave a memory behind, and to have a meaning. I love to play snooker, pool.
Oh, okay.
Pool
Okay.
here in the States. Just chat with my friends. I have a tradition of, I'm known as a collector of friends, so I have an immense amount of friends in Brazil, in Bahia, and everywhere. But what I like most in these days, today, is playing with my grandson,
Sí.
Zion.
¿Y qué edad tiene el niño?
Zion has 4 years old. He's here in Portland. He is a Portlander. And it's the main reason why I'm here now, to be close to him. And through him, I'm learning to enjoy life in a different way again, to become a child again, So that's my greatest pleasure in life, is to play with him and to learn from him.
¿Cuántos hijos tienes?
2 kids, a boy and a girl, who are already grown ups. Alexander, my youngest, is married to a Brazilian, and they came to live here in Portland, expand their horizons. My wife is American, so he picked up his American heritage and decided to try life here, and is having a wonderful experience in Portland. They're here to stay. Our grandson is already a Portlander, born here, and our other daughter is a graphic designer. Actually, she's a designer, full hand. She creates.
¿A qué edad nace la pasión por el arte?
In my case, I think I was born already in the arts, because my parents, as you well introduced, they're both musicians. My father, my deceased dad, was a very famous and considered a virtuoso violinist. Besides being a great performer, he was also the director, the founder and director of the Symphony Orchestra of Bahia. He was the main director for 15 years. So my brother and I were born into the arts. Before we could speak, we were already singing, and before we could write, we were already recognizing the notes. And even though our parents never wanted any of us to become a professional musician because of the hardship, so they didn't want us to become professional musicians. But art was already surrounding us, and each one of us got moved, and I became a fine artist. I said, well, if I can be a musician, I'll be a fine artist. Definitely. Everything is art, Lorena. I have a belief that everything you do with passion in life is art. If you're an engineer and you do it with passion, you are definitely an artist. You see Leonardo da Vinci, he considered himself more of a builder, an architect, and an engineer rather than a painter, right?
Sí,
So you can do everything with art. Art is a style of living more than anything
definitivamente.
else. And then the products of our life, the objects of our production is the objects of art. In my case, paintings and sculptures. Can be food, can be wine.
¿Cómo fue tu experiencia empezando con los grandes en Brasil?
This was something that God granted me, this wonderful chance of, before going to art school, being able to learn from distinguished masters in their studios. Somehow, this great man got moved, I guess, by my great desire to become an artist and gave me the chance to experience the production of art, working next to them. Before going to art school, being able to learn from distinguished masters in their studios. Still as a very young kid. First, Calazans Neto, that you mentioned, a famous printmaker, that the person who first put the tools in my hand and who encouraged me and showed me how to cut the wood and said, okay, go, practice, come back here when you feel that, when you need, I'll help you print and all. So it was enormous encouragement. And after a few years, he himself introduced me to Mario Cravo when he said, oh, I don't think I have anything more to teach you. I'll guide you to somebody who was my master. And he guided me to Mario Cravo, foremost Bahian sculptor, one of the greatest of all times. And I had the chance for several years to work in his studio. He offered me a space to develop my printmaking within the facilities of his big studio. And working with him for several years, experiencing breathing the air, it was definitely a differentiation in my growing and in my career, because then I went to art school already with the experience of making art, you know, and living art. Not just the theory, but the practice before the theory. So it made it easier for me. And in school, I knew exactly what I wanted to get out of it, you know.
¿Y qué edad tenías tú cuando tuviste esa conexión con esos grandes artistas?
Well, I think I was around 13 when I started with Calazans.
Muy joven.
Very, very young, yes. Between 13 and 15, my dad thought I was watching too much TV at the time. He said, well, come on, I'm going to bring you to take you to somebody I wanted to meet. And he took me to Calazans Neto's house, and immediately I fell in passion of the artist's life and the possibilities. And then I must have been about 16, 17 when I met Mario Cravo. Right before going to college, I did go to college to study physics first, and then architecture. And at the same time, I was working in Mario Cravo's studio, you know, and then at some point I said, well, okay, this can't go. I just want to stay in the studio all day.
Tú terminas tu carrera en Brasil,
Yes,
tu bachillerato, high school,
yes.
¿verdad? ¿Cómo llega esa oportunidad de poder venir a los Estados Unidos, especialmente con una beca?
Again, you know, I think I've been blessed by God, because it was very difficult to get a scholarship in Brazil. Still is. And especially in those years, especially in the arts. And there were very few scholarships for undergraduate, especially. Only for graduate studies more, but undergraduate. So there was one scholarship for all Brazil, and I went into the dispute. The person, the American representative in Bahia, thought I had a great chance and I should run for it. I did, and I was chosen. And I got a scholarship to study printmaking at Wesley University in Connecticut. And I did study for a year there. It was wonderful. At the Davidson print collection, one of the greatest in the country. After a year, I thought I needed more exposure to the bigger world and a total art school. I went to the Cooper Union. I applied myself, earned a full scholarship, and went to New York to study in the greatest school at that time. But, you know, it was a succession of things. You know, one thing led to the other, and, you know, the scholarship was the opportunity for me to really live, you know, that traditional life, go to college, have a job, you know, and then really embrace a dream and adventure that became my life from there on.
Eso hizo un camino para ti.
Importantíssimo. A very important word, I'm sorry, I'm speaking Portuguese, very important. It defined my life afterwards. And it gave me the self-assurance, you know, that I could become an artist, you know, because it's very difficult, the career of an artist, you know, there's nothing sure, you know, how are you going to make your living? You know, people have to love your work, people have to want to buy your work, you know. Yes. It's a jump in the dark. So my experience with my masters, and then in the United States at such important schools, gave me the self-assurance I needed to embrace professionally the career and the life with the hardship it took, but with the certainty that I would prevail, that I was well equipped, right, to face the life ahead of me.
Tu arte ha traspasado fronteras.
Thank God.
Qué bendición, ¿verdad?
Yes.
¿A qué países has llevado tus exposiciones?
Well, first, all over Brazil, I have shows, solo and group shows in important museums, as the Museum of Modern Art of Bahia, that actually promoted a traveling show of my work that went all over Brazil. And I should, of course, start mentioning out of Brazil, the United States. I had at the Hawkins Art Gallery in Cooper Union, my first solo show at of course, was my graduation show. Quite important place for the arts. And then I had participated several group shows while I was going to school at the Alternative Media Center with printmakers from all over the world. Then at the Newhoff Gallery, we had a wonderful group show from artists from Bahia, promoted by the Museum of Modern Art, too. And I have works of mine in important collections in the United States. The Bass collection in Washington, the Window South collection in New Mexico, of course, the Davidson Print collection in Connecticut, the Cooper Union collection in New York, and then exhibits in Europe, in France, Paris, Portugal, London.
Una obra tuya, más o menos como cuánto cuesta?
Well, I'm going to give you a relation to the Brazilian, right? Like a work of mine that usually goes by the square meter. So the square meter of my work now in Brazil would be about $5,000 US dollars. Of course, the market there is quite different than here.
Okay.
Right? When I last exhibited in Paris, it was a very top edge gallery. My work was going for $80,000 US dollars.
Excelente.
Because, yes.
Felicidades.
So it depends on the market where you are.
Definitivamente,
you know,
sí.
And the demand. You know, Brazil, it's a very poor country. So what seems big here, big there, is very small here. The relations can. Sí. But that's a basic.
No solamente eres un artista que pinta, que crea arte, también tienes un libro.
Yes, the book, actually, I'm just the subject of the book. The book was done by my editors. The text was actually written by a friend of mine from childhood who is a very famous poet and art critic today, and released about 5 years ago.
¿Personas pueden comprarlo?
Yes, yes. In the United States, it's not being sold yet, you know. But in Brazil, it can be acquired. And if anybody has interest, can get in touch with me, and I'll be very glad to bring you a copy from Brazil.
Okay. ¿Cómo las personas, la audiencia puede ponerse en contacto contigo?
Yes, my website is Sergio Rabinovitz, altogether, Very simple.
Y allí pueden encontrar tu libro y pueden también ver tu arte.
This book is in full extent at my site today. You can see the whole book and many other interesting things like videos, plus most of my work on Canvas. Everything that I have available on Canvas is there. Things that I've done in the past, both on Canvas and paper. It's very interesting. If you want to know a little more about me, come to the book, come to the site, and you'll know a little more about this artist and friend.
No se muevan, estamos hablando con Sergio Rabinovitz desde Brasil. ¿Cómo te inspiraste para escribir este libro?
It appeared spontaneously. Well, it's the name says it all. Registros de passagem. That means registers. It's almost like a diary of, you know, as the captain maintained on board the ships, a diary, so the register of passing through, where you go, everything that. It's pretty much that. As I told you, I was working on a black and white book that would show some of my life in images, and I wasn't so excited because I said, well, my work is so colorful. It's going to be images, reproduction in black and white. And I just started to sketch how I thought the book should be. And suddenly I saw that the sketches I was making was better than making a book with images, photographs, and this was it.
¿Cuál de todas las obras es la más importante para ti? ¿Y por qué?
Lorena, that's a question that it's impossible to answer. And I must say, all of them are important to me. There's no one that I like more than others.
¿Cuál de todas las experiencias que has vivido tú cambiarías, harías diferente?
I wouldn't change anything. I'm very happy with the life I've had so far. If I could go back to school, I would, though, study more philosophy because I think it's very important for a formation of a mind. I would study more geometry, especially because I think the whole universe can be described by means of geometry. The sacred geometry is the basis of everything. And I think I'll study more trigonometry to play pool a little better than I do.
¿Cómo cambió tu vida ser un abuelo?
That was a big change, Lorena. I could never imagine how big it would be. I think it changed everything. It gave me new reasons to be alive. That says it all, right? I'm 67 now. It's getting to a point when you start feeling, oh, it's hurting here, it's hurting there, and oh, maybe I did everything I could. You know, there are some disappointments. And I think when Zion came, it was like a refreshment, a general, you know, like a boot you do on a computer. A new set, and it gave me good reasons to energize, to look forward. I had, at the moment, doctors say, oh, you have this possible sickness, you have that. Everything disappeared. I cured all my diseases. It's incredible
Excelente.
how I started to turn more inwards. And I said, no, I want to be very strong and very healthy to enjoy my grandson. But when you hold your grandson the first time, I think you learn what eternal happiness is.
¿Qué proyectos tienes para el futuro?
I have ahead of me a sculpture, a commission of a sculpture to create for a beautiful garden. I have a large mural that I'm doing at Praia do Forte, which is a very famous destiny in Bahia now, where the turtles come to nest, and it's a wonderful place. So I'm doing a very big panel that is almost ready, but I still have to do some touches on it. And my biggest project at the moment is to build bridges between Portland and Bahia, you know.
¿Tú estás pensando montar un estudio aquí o
Yes.
traer tu arte de Brasil?
Yes, both things, everything. I'm going to set a foot here, definitely, as soon as I can. I have a studio, a place that I can leave my things and work here and receive people. and start going back and forth because I have a whole life there that I can't let go, of course. I'm an important artist. I have built a studio, a lot of people working with me, and a lot going on. But I want to add Portland to that. I love being here. I want to develop some work here, stay here for part of the year near my family, of course, son and grandson. Therefore, this is one of my main projects, and I want to both produce here and be able to bring back and forth works that I do there, bring here printmaking. There's a lot of printmaking that I make, which is easy to transport.
Es una gran oportunidad para poder trabajar también con artistas locales.
Yes, yes, definitely. There's things like lithography. Lithograph has become, it's almost rare and difficult to reach and practice here. And in Brazil, we can make editions of lithographs at a much lower cost and bring here and restart this market.
¿Qué mensaje le enviarías tú a esas personas que están empezando y quieren crear una carrera en el arte de la pintura?
Well, my message is there's art in everything. Start looking around, start looking at art through art eyes. Because the art is all around, and start thinking, well, what would you like to express if you were an artist? What kind of art? And then just totally throw yourself into it. There's only one way of doing it. You just really got to give yourself full time to it and enjoy the experience. Whether as a fine artist, as a writer, or a playwright, or an actor, whatever. As I said, just do something very well with great passion, and that will be art. Don't worry about making art. Worry about loving what you do. And that's
Amen el arte.
You love what you do, I can see, and you do great art.
Thank you. ¿Cómo fue dejar a tu familia?
Well, I had already been exposed to leaving my family when I was a younger kid. I came to the United States in an exchange student program when I was 11, I think, or 13. Yeah, that's when I was 13, yeah. So I had been experienced to being away for 6 months. And when I came to study art, I was already on my 18 years old, 19, when I came to the city. Therefore, the excitement of living art was so great that, it like numbed the great feeling I had about missing my family. At that time, I still had all of my grandparents, huge family back home. First time one of us went away. So there was a lot of emotion, no doubt. But the thrill of being in New York City, was so great that it numbed all my missing.
¿Tus hermanos menores no quisieron seguir tus pasos?
Yeah, that's how it is, Each one has his mind, right? They're all very artistic too, but they both went into engineering. One of them is a civil engineer, like we call in Brazil, a builder, contractor. The other is an electric engineer. He developed all his life, dedicated his life to working in the Petrobras, Brazilian oil company.
Mucha exposición al arte y a la música.
A lot. I remember very clear our life was in the backstages of theaters, a lot of it. Me as a little kid, and even lately, as my dad, as a director of the orchestra, would go to the concerts and then mingle with the musicians backstage. So besides my experience in the art world with great artists everywhere in New York, I also have been very intimate with the music world and the backstages of theaters.
Quiero agradecerte, darte las gracias por habernos acompañado y por compartir este tiempo. Gracias.
I thank you, Lorena, for this opportunity. It was a great pleasure to be here with you and our viewers, sharing a little bit of my life and my person with you.
Es un placer.
My pleasure.
Y ustedes, gracias por habernos acompañado en un nuevo segmento de En Familia.
La esperanza, en familia tú encuentras el amor, en familia tú encuentras los recursos de hoy y del ayer, en familia tú encuentras el apoyo, en familia tú encuentras la confianza, en familia tú encuentras la enseñanza que te ayudan a ser mejor. En familia yo me lleno de alegría, junto a los seres que yo amo y me aman. En familia yo recuerdo mis raíces y aprendo a amar mi origen. En familia yo aprendí en esta vida no hay nada más importante que la familia. En familia yo aprendo día a día que la familia es el núcleo de la vida. Los problemas se resuelven con amor y comprensión. En familia yo encuentro el apoyo para los sueños y las metas que me propongo.